in a detail. First is data redundancy and inconsistency. Since different programmers create the files and application program over a long period, the various files are likely to have a different structure and the programs may be written in a several programming language. Moreover, the same information may be duplicated in a several files. Means what? Suppose one programmer written a same information using C or using Java or using C++, that is different programming language or different programming structure, but the data is same. Means what? Same data placed in a several files. For example, if a student has a double major, that is two subject, music and mathematics, the address and the telephone number of that student maybe appear in the first file that is related to music subject, and also appear in a mathematic file that is same telephone number and same address. These two columns are same but appear in a two different files. So this is known as data redundancy. Okay. This redundancy leads to the higher storage and access cost. These are the two drawbacks of data redundancy: higher storage and access cost. In addition, it may be lead to the data inconsistency. How? Suppose the various copies of the same data may longer agree. For example, a change of the student address may be reflected in a music department record but not updated in the another file. This causes data inconsistency. Okay. Now, second is difficulty in accessing files. Suppose that one of the university clerk needs to find out the name of the student who live within a particular postal code area. The clerk asks the data processing department to generate a list. Because designer of the original system did not anticipate this request, there is no application program to fulfill this criteria, that is particular postal code in a file system. There is, however, an application program or write a new application program who generate a student list according to the postal code. The university clerk has now two choices: either obtain the list of all students and extract the needed information manually, or ask a programmer to write a necessary application program. But dear student, these both alternatives are obviously unsatisfactory. Suppose that such a program is written and then several days later the same clerk need to trim the list of that student having at least 60 credit hours. That time criteria gets changed. Now clerk need another program to extract the needed information. So the point is that the data accessing is very difficult in a file processing environment. Okay. Next is data isolation. Third point is data isolation. What you understood by data isolation? Data isolation means data are scattered in a various files and file may be of a different format. Let's take one example. Suppose I want to store a date of birth. In one file system, my data format is DD, MM, YY, and same date of birth is on another file having format DD, MM and 4 times Y. That time same data with different format have a accessing problems also. So this is known as data isolation. Integrity problem. Next is our integrity problem. The data value stored in a database must satisfy the certain type of consistency constraint. Suppose the university maintain an account for each department and they record the balance amount in each account. Suppose that university require that account balance of the department may never fall below the zero. This is the constraint. That time developer enforce this constraint in the system by adding appropriate code. But if my constraint get changed, that time again for a new constraint, new code is necessary to add in a programming in case of file system. So this is known as integrity problem. Means what? Whenever I want a certain criteria to sort out the data, that time it is very difficult to add integrity constraint in a file system. Now next is atomicity problem. Atomicity problem. A computer system, like any other devices, is subject to failure. In many applications, it is crucial that if failure occurs, the data to be restored to the consistent state. This is means what? Before failure, there is one consistent state, and if my system get failure, that time you must come or restore your system at a consistent state. Let's take one example. Consider to a program transfer 500 from the account balance of department A to the account balance of department B. If in between system get failure, that time it is possible that 500 removed from the first account but not credited to the second account. Yes, it may be. Hence, atomicity problem said that it must happen in entirely or not at all. Yes, atomic means it must happen in its entirely or not at all. Okay, next is concurrent access anomalies. Dear student, for the sake of overall performance of the system and faster response, many systems allow a multiple user to update the data simultaneously. But this causes a problem. Let's take one example again. Suppose my account balance is 10,000. If I do a two transaction simultaneously from my account, suppose I debit a 500 rupees and 100 rupees simultaneously. That time, if simultaneous, that is concurrent access is not allowed, that time my account balance may be get 9,500 or 9,900. But these both figures are wrong, because my correct figure should be 9,400, isn't it? Yes. So concurrent access anomalies is happen in a file handling. Then next is your security problem. Not every user of the database system should be able to access all the data. For example, in a university, payroll personnel needs to see only a part of data that has a financial information. They do not need the personal information or academic record. That time, it is a very difficult in a file processing system to manage such a thing. Means to show only a part of data is not happen in a file system. So it causes the security problem in a file system. So dear student, now we'll see the difference between file system and database system according to this parameter. First, redundancy. So all data at a one location minimize the redundancy. We see that in a file system, data is located in a multiple location, causes the data redundancy. But in database management system, all data at a one location, it's minimize the redundancy effect. What is redundancy? We already seen this every parameter. We discuss now this parameter with respect to database management system and file processing system. Second parameter is inconsistency. In this, all the user access the actual or consistent data. Means what? Due to the redundancy, inconsistencies happen in a file processing system. But in database management system, all data is at one location. Hence, no redundancy, no inconsistency. But in file processing system, all the user access the local data which can introduce the inconsistent data. Okay. Third point is data sharing. DBMS provide a multiple user interface for sharing a data. Yes. Means what? Suppose I want to see only personal detail of a student. That time in DBMS, it is possible to create one view and show a particular that personal detail column only to the user. So this is known as data sharing. But data is isolated in the file system and limited sharing is happening. Next is your centralized control. Unauthorized access is restricted in a DBMS, but it is difficult to handle unauthorized access in a file processing system due to the less security in a file processing system. Next is data standard. In database management system, data at a one location, so enforcing standard is simple. But in a file processing system, we already cover that data is distributed, that is gets isolated from in multiple locations, so enforcing such a standard is not simple in a file processing system. Next is the record storage. In database management system, computerized record is keeping system. But in file processing system, collection of individual file access by a application program only. Means what? In a file processing system, we see that suppose I want to save one file in a Word file or in a Notepad file. That time, to access that file, I must know the path of that file. Am I right? Yes, but this is not case in a database management system. We are unaware about where my data gets stored. This is known as record storage. Next is security restriction. It is easy to impose the security restrictions in a database management system, but it is little bit complex in a assigned security restriction. We already seen that integrity constraint. In a security restriction, suppose financial department of my organization wants only financial data of the employee. That time it is a very difficult in a file processing system to share only financial detail of the employee to a particular department. This is known as security restrictions. Now, next is integrity. It is easy to impose the various integrity constraints in a database management system, but it is difficult or not possible to assign some integrity constraint in a file processing system. How? Integrity constraint means what? Again I repeat, suppose my bank account balance is gets below minimum minimum account balance limit. That time bank automatically deduct the rebate for me. Yes, so this is a one type of integrity constraint, and this is a very easily apply in a database management system, but it is very difficult to apply such a type of constraint using file processing system. Next is flexibility access. Yes, database, due to this all advantages, your database having flexible access on data, but it is designed to allow predetermined access to data in a file processing system. This is the various points regarding file system versus database management system. Okay. Now, dear student, we are moving toward the next topic, that is application of the database. These are the some listed application of the database. First, enterprise information, banking, finance, universities, airlines and telecommunication. Dear student, first of all, think on that. For in every organization, needs a database management system. Yes, because every organization, it may be related to any sector, IT sector, computer sector, mechanical sector, chemical sector, electronic sector, whatever, but every machine produces a data, and to manipulate that data, to store that data in every organization needs a database management system. These are the very popular application of database management system, but you also think on another application. So first is enterprises information. So dear student, enterprises information consists of different type of department like sales department, accounting department, human resource department, manufacturing department. Consider, suppose in a sales department, it may be a customer, it may be a product, or it may be a purchase information. Let's take one example. Suppose you buy one product from a Flipkart. Flipkart is an enterprise. In Flipkart, we are the customer for Flipkart. So the one database is for customer sales department. In one database there may be a cell table. In that customer product purchase information. Suppose I purchase one product, so product related information is under the product table. Now purchase information means my invoice. All these are the related to the purchase information. Next is accounting. Accounting means for payment, receipt, account balance, asset and other accounting information come under the accounting section. Right? Human resources. Human resources is for employee of the Flipkart. We take one example as a Flipkart. So in human resources, all the employee of the Flipkart, salaries of that employee, taxes, benefits, all these are comes under the human resources department. For each department manage its own data, right? And these all are interrelated to each other. Therefore we say that we uses a database that is interrelated data and also a set of program to manage all this data. Okay. Now next example is banking. We will always always visit a bank. That time we see the systematic format or transaction of the banking system, right? All these are happen because of the database management system. In bank also, in banking, all the customer information, accounts, loan, transactions are managed. In credit card transaction department, all the transaction or purchases of item regarding all the information which is happen under the credit card comes under the credit card transaction department. And finance, at last, in that storing the information about all holding, sales, financial instrument like stock, bonds, these are the comes under the finance sector, but all these are interrelated to each other. Now universities, we are the student of Pune University, so all the student of informations comes under the university. Suppose we are the student of Pune University, so our information is stored in the Pune University's database, right? So such as all the information regarding human resources, the employee of Pune University, for a teacher of the Pune University, all these data are maintained in a database management system. If one staff is resign her or his job, that time that data must be deleted from the university database. If student get pass out, last year student get pass out from that university, that time that data must be deleted or maintained on another table. This is known as updations of the databases. So all creation, updation, insertions, all the operation are managed by database management system. Next is your airlines. For the reservation, schedule the information, airlines were among the first to be used database in a geographical distributed manner. Yes, telecommunication. Our Telecommunication is also the best application of database management system. All the schedules, entries are maintained in a telecommunication database. So dear student, today we stop here. This is all regarding the introduction of DBMS, that is database management system, that is purpose of database management system, disadvantages of file processing, and the application of database management system. Thank you for your patience listening. In next video we cover the remaining points. Thank you once again.